Welcome to Film Study, an All American podcast with Lexi. I'm Lexi, and today we're going to be talking about episode 107, right?
Yeah.
107 Godspeed. And Monda, y'all know my guest host. My guest co host is back on the pod.
Which is funny that I am doing this episode of this show.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because if y'all follow me, y'all know me doing this is hilarious.
Right. And so let's get into it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, all of the things. Smash that like, smash that like button. Turn on those notifications. Give me a 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, please, because I know y'all be listening. I'll be checking the numbers.
Give her the 5 stars. Please give her the 5 stars.
Please help with the ratings. But yeah, let's get into it. What were your overall thoughts on the episode? Godspeed.
I overall liked the episode. There were parts that I liked more than others, and there's parts that bore me, and we'll talk about that. But it was good. There's some parts that really made me appreciate their care to it. And then there's other things like, I predicted this moment. So yeah, it was good overall.
Yeah, I agree. I enjoyed the episode. I still feel like it's been for the past 2 weeks very very much slower in terms of pacing for the storyline, which I just think because I'm watching All American, I'm so used to them moving so fast. So every time there is a slow episode, it's just almost a little bit jarring for me. Because I'm just like, here we go. 20 different storylines. Let's get ready. Like
Right. They do move at different paces. And actually it feels like they're not even part of the same universe at times.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, it's just like I feel like
on?
Homecoming started off really fast too. Like, and so it's just, especially these last 2 episodes or so, have been very much just a little bit slower. So it's just it added a different element, but I still enjoyed the episode. I enjoy most episodes, as you know.
Yeah, like I said before in our first podcast, Lexi and I got different opinions of the writers and how we support them.
Yeah.
And Lexi go always be down for the cause.
No, I'm not always on the side of the writers, but majority of the time.
She's the nicer one of us sisters.
I am.
I'm gonna own that. She's the nicer one of us.
And can we take this time to make a public service announcement as well? That, know, we have different opinions. So I think I'll just leave it at that. But like sometimes, we sometimes we agree. I feel like,
right.
A good amount of the time we agree, but also we have some different disagreements as well.
Right. And people think that we are like the same person.
Well, you said it, not me. I was trying to keep it cute.
No, we have to keep it real 100.
I was trying to keep it cute.
She don't keep it cute. I am the messy sister. I'm the messy one. She's the nice, like, let's love on everybody. I'm gonna tell like it TI is and what's off of my head. And I'm messy.
There you go.
I like mess.
There you go. Yeah, you do. If y'all look at what she said to Michael the other day, oh my gosh.
Yes, that was fun. I was responding to the song. Yeah,
but we will move along.
We'll move along.
Let's start off with Amara and this journalism. It was Black Women in Journalism. I think that she had this event, and she was prepping for it. Keisha was helping her prep for it as well. They were all set to do it in the student lounge, like the student union area. And then Zeke saw that, and he was just like, yo, I told you to keep a low profile, and you're not keeping a low profile by having this event. So he vetoed the event to be held in the student union. They had to find the last minute venue, but thankfully Coach Lonnie, which I'm so upset we did not see her.
Right. She should have been there.
Honestly, in my opinion, and this is one critique that I do have, I think that Coach Lonnie should be a main character in this universe, because we need to see who Simone's coach is, because she's the main character. Anyway, that's a whole different thing.
We
But
should also see the person who's mentoring her and
right,
helping guide her.
right,
Yeah.
exactly, and that's typically the coach, because we have that for Spencer and Billy. We have that now for Turner and Damon and Jr.
But you know
But
my thoughts around that.
yes, but but so I do think that Coach Lonnie should be, at least, at the very least, a recurring character, because we need that person that's in Simone's life that's guiding her athletically, as well as, like we said, a mentor. So anyway, that's neither here nor there. But Coach Lonnie lets Amara use the tennis courts for her event, and it wasn't really that well attended, but it was fine. And she ends up having it. She says some things about the school at the end of the episode. Spoiler alert. She said some things about Bringston that don't show it necessarily the best light. And so Zeke and her end up on this sort of a cliffhanger, because she has this video clip that's going around that now people are sending him, that she sort of shades Bringston a little bit, but a lot.
So, so did I watch something different? I thought someone edited and made it seem different than what she said, because she's like, those were not my exact words.
Yeah, I think she said so. I think it was just like this was she. So it was edited, but I want to say it
Right.
was like edited out of context. So I thought my understanding
Yes.
was like the context was before and after, but that she did say those exact words in that exact order.
I don't see, and maybe it's just been a long week. I don't
To be
recall this in
fair,
the exact order.
yeah, I don't. I think that was left up to interpretation, and we'll probably find
Okay,
out more in the next episode. But so I just took
hopefully.
it as like this is what was said, but we didn't get the context of like what the question was. Like we didn't know what the question was. We didn't know because and I think that they did show a clip where the guest that she had, that very much reminded me of Amanda Seals, but the
Right.
guest that she had said something about like, oh, so what is it working on, like this campus, da, da, da. So there, it wasn't that context of what led up to this answer.
Yeah, I also thought that they kind of like switched some of the words out of the answers. So that's why it's like that too was edited in
It
the
could
piece
be.
in a way.
It could be because there's like,
And I would love, love, love for us to get the like real of it, but these writers probably won't.
no,
And
I think
I'm
we'll
here
get the. I think we'll get the real of it. I really do.
I'm here for Anamara. So anybody trying to come for her, like I'm side eyeing them. So
Same. I'm here
really
for.
like
I'm
paying
here for her
attention
too.
because I'm here for her.
Me
I'm
too.
truly here for her.
Me too. And it would be just a very interesting story to tell about, how good editing has become and how you can make it look like it's real. I think that's a prevailing topic on a lot of TV shows lately.
Yeah.
So anyway, moving on. Moving right along. Speaking of this, I know he's your fave, right? JR, one of your faves. So this is all against the backdrop of Founders Day weekend, and JR is like getting a Founders Day sort of like outing weekend with his KEK brothers and obviously like alumni that are KEK. And the former coach shows up. I don't remember this guy's name, but he's a former coach. Do you remember it?
Can I just say something real quick?
What?
JR was giving him hell.
He
JR was not happy to see him.
Yeah.
And I was here for it.
Yeah.
I was here for it.
Yeah, he was throwing him shade.
I looked at him like he was small.
Right.
Like looked him up and down like he was small.
It was the up and downs for me. It was the up and downs for me.
He was boy, I cackled so hard. I said, boy, you better let him know how you feel.
Right.
Expression and all. He was not here for him.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. And so he was giving him that energy throughout the episode. Eventually, after the former coach had seen this interaction with him and Damon as well, JR did acknowledge that, he's been off of baseball and this and that, but that he actually wanted to join back. And the former coach was just like, nah, you don't need to do that because you're not a good baseball player.
And was like, I put you on the bench for a reason.
Right.
Why you being a hater, sir?
Exactly. Like,
why you being a hater?
Yeah, but, and the crazy thing is for me that as an audience member, I was just like, JJ, that should just tell you that you should be back on the team because
Me too. I was like, don't listen to that clown.
right, don't
That's why
listen to
he's no
them.
longer
But
your
also,
coach.
like, why he's not even your coach anymore? So why would he be trying to keep you off the team if you knew that you made the team weaker? Hmm.
Thank you.
He would be like, "Oh yes, sign back up, please. I want to see you 3 times a week." You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, that even just from that standpoint, from a competitiveness standpoint, I don't know why Jr. took that to heart. But again, he's in sort of a vulnerable place, and we'll talk about his interaction with Jamin in a little bit. But uh, we just know that he's still sort of recovering from the stuff about his parents. And so, anyway, like we said, Jr. don't listen to him. His teammates said Jr. don't listen to him. And like I said, he had been sort of like shooing away, shading Damon, sort of just like brushing him off a lot in this episode, in terms of, um, Damon just trying to chill again and hang out, while they're waiting for these DNA results. And he's just like, "You're not a part of my family. You want to know everything about my family? I want to tell you about my family." And it's just like, come on, like y'all used to be boys. What's going? I don't know why I'm like using this voice today, but I just, it's Friday. We hype. But yeah, y'all used to be boys, and so you can just be
They
nice.
used to be boys, and despite the fact that he was trying to find out the truth about Damon, I felt that he didn't want to like find out the truth with Damon because he still had to like process it himself. Or like, who is this person that's been this picture that my parents been holding on to? Is this Damon? Do I have a brother out there? If it's not Damon, who holds a place in my family's life that I don't know about? And
Especially
why have
given
I not been
this,
told the
yeah,
truth?
especially given this divorce.
Yes.
Um, and so yeah, he was just still going through that, and so he and Damon were still beefing a little bit. But at the end, Jr. apologizes, and we'll get to the brother thing later. But at the end, Jr. apologizes, and it looks like they. And I was being sort of tongue in cheek and saying they used to be brothers because I do still feel like they are brothers, like even though they're going through a tough time.
What you mean they're brothers? They still learning each other.
But they were friends before the show was established.
That is true. That is true. They were.
And
But
the
how
Damon was
well of
like
a
visiting
friendship was
him
it?
for a
Because
weekend.
did they know each other that well? Well,
I think so, enough to like I wouldn't just visit someone who's like a casual friend in the
okay,
in the homecoming pilot.
yeah, yeah, very much so. And I've always said if people follow me on Twitter, Jr. is kind of like sneaky
Hmm.
because I was like, "What's up with you, bruh?" But he fascinates me.
Right,
But yeah,
right,
they did. Yeah, in the pilot, he did stay with Jr. And I think, and they used to be on some team together. Yeah, okay,
right,
I
right.
get you.
So I
I
think
get you.
yeah, I think they were pretty close, and I even though they're like fighting, it's you don't get mad at people that you don't care about. So for better or for worse, and so I think that even though they were bickering for these past couple episodes, like you could still see that it was just like from a place of hurt. And yeah, for both of them, Damon being sensitive just about his family in general because he doesn't really know who they are, his birth parents, and um Jr. Like having this point of divergence and difference and newness as far as his family goes. And how trashy that is. So anyway, so they sort of come back together to an understanding at the end of this episode. And so that was that was them. I know this is not even necessarily in a particular order, but we just gonna keep rolling with it. Um, what is interesting though is that you know someone who sort of had been flying sort of in the background, who Damon also interviewed, or should say interviewed instead of Jr. after he declined, was Keisha, and
Mm-hmm.
Keisha left on a bit of a interesting note, maybe a sour note from some, because she stood up Cam in the last episode. But what we come to find out in this episode is that her mom's birthday is coming up. It's typically something that she does with her dad, with Zeke, but they can't fly back to Detroit to celebrate her mom's birthday, and they usually do a traditional Filipina, right? Filipino tradition.
Yeah.
They're from the Philippines, and so she's just really sad about that. And again, because of this rift with her dad, and it was actually interesting because we see them both trying to celebrate it on their own. Meanwhile, in the background, Simone and Nate are like, "What we finna do? How quickly can we pull together a traditional?"
And how can and also making sure that it's authentic,
Right, and making sure that it's authentic,
which
which
was
is so
beautiful.
important. It was so beautiful to
Hmm.
see. Which this is a line that I love because this is me. This is what I would want in a braider. That Nate says she's like, I can do medium box braids in under 3 hours. Like what? Do you mind? Do you mind, ma'am?
Can I hire
Can I
you?
hire
Where
you?
can I find you?
So yeah, it's just I love that line. And so they pull together and what Keisha calls remixing family dinner, and they remix it and do a traditional Filipina birthday celebration. They invite Zeke. Zeke apologizes. I thought it was a really heartfelt apology from Zeke. What did you think about that?
I like that apology because it wasn't just about apologizing of not being there and understanding her wanting to switch her major, but he also apologized for not being the father
Hmm.
that he needed to be while
Right,
both of them were trying to heal.
right.
And so it was very, it made me like him a little more. I still am side eyeing him. But
Oh
I
yeah, side
appreciate,
eyeing him for Amara for sure.
yeah, oh, I'm side eyeing him for Keisha too. But I but I appreciate him owning the mistake of not only being, hey, I made a mistake and not listening to you wanting to switch your major, but I made a mistake since your mom's death
Right.
on how are we healing, how I'm there for you and things of that nature. And that in itself was beautiful to see.
It was, and I think especially the call because I mean anybody who listens to this podcast and these episodes, these reviews of Homecoming can know that I have always been on the side of just like I know that Zeke is capable of being better, even though we haven't seen it on screen that much, but just somewhere deep in my soul, like I know. So I really appreciated the apology and really him calling back to that point that he made about her, um, him saying like, "Oh, your mother would be so disappointed," and just like how he really, to your point, needs to heal, because and it doesn't make it okay, right? But it just adds some
Right.
context and some color for why he has reacted the way he does, why he thinks it's so important is because the last thing that he and her mother had talked about was her being a doctor, like right before she died, and he was just like, "Oh, I can't even, I'm afraid like, if you're not a doctor that I'd lose part of your mother, and like I look at you and I think you're your mother." And so it was just a really beautiful moment for them against the backdrop of what we I know you and I both appreciated this so much, but the very well done, tastefully done, and if I can say culturally humble way of
Hmm.
putting together that remixed family dinner and that traditional Filipina birthday celebration. And I just love this line by Amara when she said, "I hope it's okay that we did this."
That line hit so, like, it hit my heart.
So
I was
hard.
like, this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like, you should ask. People often say, I will ask for forgiveness rather than permission. No, you should ask for permission, particularly if you are trying to celebrate and trying to uplift a culture that you have no clue about.
Right.
And so you should be able to ask, is this okay?
Right.
And am I doing this as I should in the honor of your mother and traditions, in which we researched, because they never themselves ever like put it on,
Right.
so they had to research and make sure that they had the things that were needed.
Yeah.
What's interesting is, and I had tried to do some research about this. I believe that what is her real name? Netta.
Netta.
Yeah, I believe in real life Netta is black and Filipino,
She is. Yeah.
because she was on Twitter talking about how they had like the actual things on the set.
Yeah. The
And
food
so the
was real,
fact that
everybody. The food was real.
it was real. She was really describing it. And for the show, which we all have some thoughts around it, but for the writers and everything to not only honor um, Keisha's fictional identity and Netta's real identity together, it was beautiful
Yeah.
to know
Yeah,
that
and
they
as a
did
tribute to, I believe it was her dad, and I think
that.
the person, so it was to honor her dad, who I think her dad passed away, Netta's dad. But the real person in the pictures that they showed of Keisha's mom was Netta's mom.
Which was beautiful.
Just beautiful. And again, just the sensitive, and I think I noticed it in the things like clothing. Like even they were trying to wear
Mm-hmm.
traditional Filipina um garb as well. So just like, and those are the let me not get on a little rant because I could go into culture and intercultural competence and all of those things, um because it's my area. But those are like very surface level things, like food, art, clothing, very surface level aspects of culture that was really cool to see represented on screen. And what I loved is that not only showing those physical manifestations or the things that we can see, the things that are very visible to the eye, but again, like we both, that line just meant so much to me. Of I hope it's okay that we did this, and trying to get to the below the surface meaning and respect and reverence for the pieces of Filipino culture.
You know what's interesting? That line, I believe, wasn't just for fictional Keisha, but was also to the Filipino culture of anyone who's watching it
Right, right.
and saying, I hope this is okay.
And it was a
If you think about
right. No, I agree, and I think it was like for the audience too to say like this is how you approach situations like this, or this should be your posture, a posture of
it. Mm-hmm.
humility, uh, when you're engaging in cultural differences. Which again, shout out to NK and the All American Homecoming writing team for that, and the set, everybody, the whole entire crew, set designers, everybody, costume, makeup, actors, of course, but everybody who had a hand in executing that, and just making sure that it was really, um, and it's a very one specific perspective. I'm sure that they asked Netta a lot, and that comes from her perspective on the Filipino culture. But again, trying to get it right.
Mm-hmm. I'll
Um,
give them that. I will give them that.
yeah, so that was great. They have a nice little time at the dinner, like we said. Keisha and Zeke sort of have a talk, make up to the best of their ability right now. I'm sure they definitely have more work to do, but that leads Keisha to then talking to Cam and explaining why she can't be in a relationship because she really has some work to do still on herself, and she can't be in a serious relationship, and what she needs right now is a friend, which I think is good for them right now.
It's good. And I instantly started laughing at that scene because Cam explained to Keisha that usually he sidesteps side pieces.
Right.
But he
We know
willing
she ain't no
to be
side
in
piece
this
to you,
friendship.
Cam. We know she ain't no side piece.
When I tell you I laughed so hard during that moment, I was like, I'm here for this. This I'm here for.
Right.
Because he's gonna always be Cam wherever he can be. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Cam, meanwhile, like we said, Damon in the background has been doing this project, and he had this psychology project on the nature versus nurture debate. Can I just I need to say this at the top. It's both and. There is no
Say
nature
that
or
again.
there is no nature or nurture on their own exclusively. It's both and.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just as a like, I was like the psychology nerd in me was just
Yes,
like,
we
please
both are
say this,
psychology nerds.
please say this at some point in the episode. And for me, they didn't emphasize it enough that it was both.
They didn't. They didn't.
But I mean, look, there are people that are very much in one camp or the other. But from my perspective and what I've learned, it's both and. Um,
And I agree.
yes. And so he had this project where he asked people, and Simone actually gave him the idea to do a documentary because, again, he doesn't know a ton about his family experience, his family history. But to do this nature nurture and ask his friends. So again, he asked Jr. to be in it. Jr. declined. Um, he we mentioned that he talked to
That was
Cam.
a nice way of saying it.
Jr. said,
JR
"Oh,
just
you not
declined.
even part of my family yet." No, he was wilding. He was wilding. But he did interview Cam as well. Apparently, Cam comes from a family of singers. I felt like that was a very interesting way to introduce Cam being a singer. By the way,
That is too, because then you think about he sung for Keisha, and I was like, wait a second, because we were all trying to figure out what was going to happen to Kim after this whole brain
right? I thought he
aneurysm
was going to
thing.
join the baseball team because he could play baseball. Was
And
that just a red herring?
yeah, but it's a
I
possibility
still
though
think
that he
they,
still
yeah.
may join the
I
baseball
feel like
team.
it would just make the most sense for him to join the baseball team, even though it's like
Yeah,
I don't.
he still may join the baseball team, but then make like music theater his major or
Right,
something,
right,
which then will complement Keisha if she decides to do dance.
right, right. Um,
So, and that's how I was seeing it.
right. And so Cam talked about his history with football. Ultimately, Damon encourages him to be a singer, to do like what his family does, even though it does come easy to him. Cam's words. Again, he talked to Keisha, and she gave him the advice to focus on the parts that he does know about himself, just like she. Uh, she talked about the parts. I'm sorry. The Keisha interview was really funny to me. Was I?
It was. It was.
Because I don't know, it was like it didn't feel uncomfortable. I don't know, there was just something about it that I was just it was very interesting, like from start to finish, like the way that she came at it. I feel like and maybe it was because it was around the time with her mom, so she I don't know, I was just like Keisha doesn't usually act like this, and I guess she was more withdrawn in the episode, but it was just very interesting from a characterization of her standpoint. And even the fact that like Damon like dapped her up, like they dapped each other up. I don't know. It's interesting. Anyway, I'll move along. Um so yeah, talked to her, said to focus on the parts that she does know. Interviewed Thea, which I told y'all.
I've been said.
I told y'all that they was gonna have another little moment.
But I have said since the backdoor pilot, I needed them two to be interacting with each other.
Yeah.
And I like their interview moment.
Yeah.
I do. I will be honest with you people here. I am not a Jamone. I am not a Damone. I am not even a Damon fan. But I am a Thea fan. And for some reason, before even after watching Backdoor Pilot, I felt this gravitating pull of Damon and Thea. I like it. I like it.
Yeah,
I do.
I feel that I see the pool as well, but I'm just prepared for mess. I'm just prepared for
You
mess.
prepared for what?
I'm prepared for mess. I'm prepared for mess.
I like it though. I like it all. I like all kind of mess.
So we'll just see. But I also, because like we already know that Thea's this person that hasn't had this many experiences. So I just ultimately her to get her happy ending. Of course she will, but like I just anyway. That's that. But they had a moment where they talked about um who she is off the court, and Damon encouraged her that like the person that she is off the court is going to be as amazing as who she is on the court. And so they had a little cute moment where he encouraged her after she was like edit that part out. And so I felt like the interviews were a balance of like Damon giving advice and receiving advice from other people. So I
Yeah.
like how they intertwine that, like interwoven, whatever the word is. They
You know
weaved
what's
it in and out.
interesting
Yeah,
though?
go ahead.
Every time I see Thea and Damon in a scene together, he seems to be impressed by her more and more.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He seems to be impressed by her more and more when she just thinks like I'm Thea. I just went through all of this. This is my life. I've been on the court my entire life, which he can relate to, right? Because he
Hmm.
was going to the MLB himself because he had that same exact path as she did in just trying to be greatness in an athletic form. And so he just it's just this moment of like appreciating what she's done and everything and trying to get to that connection. And I like that. She needs to be appreciated more, but I still need her to be the mean girl. But she needs to be appreciated.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and like I said, is like there was a balance of him giving advice at points and then him receiving advice at points. Um, Again, he gave advice to Thea, but you know who? This was a very adviceful episode. I don't. That's not a word, but Thea ended up giving advice to Simone about tennis.
Mm-mm-mm.
Why'd you say? What was it for?
Because I enjoyed that her giving advice to Simone, but I needed like a little bit more mean girl in towards the end, like the little slight digs. But I loved it. I loved it.
See, I loved her clapping and being like, ah.
Oh, and her clapping is hilarious because you never would think that was coming for Thea, who always like kind of mean mugging.
Right,
people.
and she did say, "I enjoy." All I did was yell at you, like that was cute, but
and she's like, and I enjoy yelling.
Right, right. And so what the backdrop of that is that there's also like a tennis invitational. Simone gets assigned one of the more intense tennis stars, who basically psychs her out. She has like too many panic attacks in the middle of the court. Just I think we're finding out that Simone is a bit of a perfectionist, and if she is scared that she's not going to excel at something, then she gets very anxious. And so she has anxiety on the court, panic attack, doesn't do well. Back to Damon's project, like Damon interviews her and she's just like, I showed myself, like it's not exactly her words, but PG. But showed herself on the court, and like it was a person that she didn't recognize. So Thea really gives her advice on how to find her zone, like get in the zone, and that other people have things that they do counting. Thea meditates, and so whatever getting into the zone looks like for her, she should do it. So Simone tries it, it doesn't really work, and then Thea just has this a great moment where she steals somebody's sign, writes on the sign,
little girl sign,
right? The little girl sign. She writes "zone equals love" in the middle of Simone's match and shows it to her to say like, remember your love. I took it as remember your love for tennis, the sport, apart from the competition.
I agree.
And like take this moment to self-love.
Well.
Yeah.
And then because we saw Simone then like remembering like her on the court when she was younger.
Right.
And things of that nature. You know what's funny? It's also relatable to like Spencer's story in the episode before.
Yeah.
About his love for football.
Very true.
And Grace showed him the picture of him like kicking on special teams.
Absolutely.
And so they both had that relatable moment. But yeah, I also liked about that scene was when Thea she literally had that little girl. She took the sign, wrote "zone equals love," and then the little girl
just was was cheering and showing that part of the sign too. The "zone equals love." Yeah, no, I like that too. And again, like clap for her afterwards, and they just had a really cute moment. We mentioned talking about yelling, but quick thing on the tennis part. Before all of this, we should say that Jordan sent a quick text to Simone to wish her luck before her match. Basically. But you know what you can't do through text that Damon did to Simone?
He held her hand. Which was like,
this boy is always, it's very Spencer reminiscent. Remember in season 3, we'd just be like, Spencer just loves, especially you, Spencer just loves to grab Olivia's hand.
Touching people.
Grabs Olivia's hand all the time. And that is Damon to Simone. He finna grab her hand. He gonna find any excuse to do so.
That is true. I used to always be like, "Can you stop touching her?" Right.
But this time, me shipping everybody and being also a Damone myself was just like, okay, Damon. And we saw the Amara notice because Amara know. I have no reserves at Amara knows. But
and you got her doing that and me going, let that girl hand go. She got a boyfriend.
Unhand her.
Yeah, so we literally at opposite ends of that. This is where we separate each other's thoughts. I'm the mess one. Like, if you don't let her hand go, and
Unhand
you
her.
grabbing her hand in front of her aunt who don't even know you like that. What's wrong with you?
He's so bold.
Disrespectful.
It was just funny to me because I was just like, this man is going to take any and every excuse to grab her hand, and she gonna let him.
Which is also disrespectful.
She did not flinch. She did not look at the hand. There was no,
Didn't
for
even
me,
pull the hand
that's what I'm
back.
saying.
Didn't
Like,
try
there
to
was
pull
no
the hand
indication that
back.
she was uncomfortable for me. She was very comfortable.
I was like, "Hello, ma'am. Are we not in a
It's
relationship?"
the mess. It's the mess for me. It's the mess
I
for
tell
me.
you.
But so that all happened pre the advice. But again, ended on loving, finding the reasons to do what you love, the reason why you love it, loving yourself. And to Damon's point in his project, it's about knowing yourself, like knowing your history is less important than knowing who you are and your own identity as a person. And I really like that. I really like the message overall of the episode.
Me too. I like the message. I like I said, I like the moments of for Keisha. I like the moments between Thea and Simone. I like JR sizing up the former coach. What bored me was Damon, but he always bores me. But
I wasn't
other than
bored by
that,
Damon. I enjoyed
yeah,
it.
you're not you.
I enjoyed it.
What bores me is Damon. His and also too because I've seen the nature versus nurture like project being done too.
Oh yeah,
In
that for me was like okay.
I've been seeing that being done in TV shows and particularly like college age TV shows. So I literally rolled my eyes
Yeah, it
when
is a
I saw it.
very yeah. Um,
I was like, this bores me. I've seen this before in a different form with different characters, but I've
yeah,
seen this before.
yeah.
So yeah.
I did like it though. I felt like it was a nice change of, even though I mentioned like pacing and number of storylines, I did think it was a nice change of, just a bit of a different look to have him interacting with all of those different characters and have them talking, because like they're talking to the audience and we don't usually get that. So it was fun for me in terms of like
Yeah,
visually.
so I prefer a slower episode when you're expanding stories because Lexi would tell you the 20 million storylines that come out of All American in that episode frustrates me. 9.9 out of 10. And so I appreciate the slowness of an episode. So which made me like the overall episode because it allowed us to dig a little bit deeper
Yeah,
into character experiences, but I want to know more about Simone outside of her being a tennis player
yeah,
who now has panic attacks.
yeah. Oh, same here.
I need more character development around her
Same here. And
and
I
about
think that's a good place to switch to predictions. Right before we get there, though, speaking of the different things that you can talk about in terms of psychology, nature versus nurture being one of those things, panic attacks, anxiety being another one of those things. Apparently, Marcus Turner has a mood disorder.
What?
You missed that?
I missed that.
The scene where he was taking pills
Oh
and they're
yes,
prescribed
I
and
didn't
said
know
mood
what the
disorder.
pills were because I was trying to like zoom in.
Yeah, okay, so I wasn't exactly correct. I thought that he might have low-key been an alcoholic or had some, but I did say he might have like anger. I think I said anger issues, or did I say that about JR? I might have said that about JR. But I knew something else was bubbling underneath the surface with Marcus. And this is not necessarily a bad thing, but I'm definitely sure that they're going to explore Marcus's mood disorders soon since it came up.
Because I was like, what is this pill bottle?
Yeah, they like
And
it
what
was
type
a
of pills
quick
for, bruh?
a quick glance that said mood disorders, prescription for mood
You
disorders.
got a better glance than I did.
So with that being said, predictions. Before we end and get to the closing, just wanted to hop in and say we forgot to talk about the big bomb, if you will, and that was that JR and Damon are not brothers, or at least the DNA test came back as negative. Now, I can't speak to Monda, and I'll ask her to put her predictions in the chat, and thoughts on that in the chat, but I, for one, I'm not totally convinced they're not brothers yet, or if they're not still connected somehow. We'll see. We'll see what's going on. We'll see what's happening, but it says the DNA test came back negative, but I'm not sure that's all that we're hear about from the end of Damon and JR potentially being connected or being family. And yeah, all right. Closing. Thank you for listening to our review. Stay tuned for our predictions.